Good morning. Been looking forward to this shave a little bit for months because I have had in my pile of soaps to come up next, to try next, this Captain's Choice Sandalwood tub. And I love the scent that's coming from the dry puck. It is a crope, of course. Just a really nice woody, kind of true authentic sandalwood scent. I like it. I'm hoping that translates across to it in lather form as well. Captain's Choice is pretty good soap. It's not top tier by any means, but it's very serviceable and enjoyable. So let's go for that. They also make creams as well as this crope. We're going to be using the brush. It's a Badger, and it's a two-band Badger. It's an Elite Shaving, Elite Razors, a Manchurian knot from their selection. And I'm able to compare it with the Maggard SHD, super high density, that I've used for 3 straight days now. And I've used this one several times. I think maybe it's on its 8th use. And so now we're going to have a direct comparison, and that'll be good. From my memory, the tips are a lot softer on the Maggard knot, and it has a little bit less backbone. But what I just did was, a few days ago, I reset the knot with a little higher by putting a spacer in there. So here's my Nacet that I'm going to be using today, 50 dots on that side, and enough on this side to make 156. So today is shave 157. And lately I've discovered that my Gillette Fat Boy handles the Nacet really well. As long as I raise the handle up a little bit more than usual to make the blade have a more acute angle relative to the skin. And as usual, I'm going to put the clean, the non-X side up because I'm just doing a little experiment about which side blade is on and how it matters. Okay. Everything is set. I'm going to wet my face. And now we can go ahead and load up the brush with soap. As usual, I'm going to shake most of the water out. All right. This has been used before. Well, it looks like. Yeah, it has. Okay. All right, so we'll go with 30 seconds, and that's going to roll around. A good marker is going to roll around now. Just light pressure is what I usually go with. Enough to bend the hairs a little bit. Oh yeah, that woody scent's coming up to my nose now. Oh boy, it looks like the 30-second load's going to be plenty for this soap. The way it feels, and there we go. And because I had that jar, turning around in that jar, some of the lather gathered up in the midpoint there. That's fine. So that's what 30 seconds of load looks like. Oh yeah. Then we've got the Roger Quintero lather bowl, 3D printed. Got those spirals in there. They help a little bit in lather generation. But if you've got a smooth bowl at home that you like, and you've got on a tight budget, I wouldn't worry about finding something with some kind of spirals or anything like that. What I really like though, this inturned lip right here. To me, that's much more valuable. This may save you, I don't know, 30 seconds. But this interned lip makes it so much nicer to keep the lather in the bowl. I like the brush rest too. But the interned lip, for me, that's worth the price of admission. All right, so this is the 3D printed bowl. I don't have a 3D printer, but a friend printed it for me, and you can print your own if you want. I put the files up via a link on my video description. So this brush, a little too much backbone I've wanted it to relax a little bit over the time that I've used it, and it maybe has a little bit, but not all that much really. And so I'm hoping that by me raising the knot up, put a little plastic washer in there, hopefully by me raising the knot up, it will relax the backbone just a little bit more. Also, I told you the tips weren't as soft as the Maggard, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes as well. Now, it's really funny with these higher backbone brushes, if they're high backbone because of the density, sometimes lofting them higher doesn't get you anywhere because it changes the way the hairs splay out, and now the ends don't really touch your skin as much anymore, and you feel the wiriness of the hair strands and that kind of thing. This is looking a little too light, like maybe it just didn't pick up enough soap, so I am probably going to have to add more soap to it. I'm going to pause you for a second. I'm trying to pause you. I'm really sorry. So this lather has kind of dissipated a lot. It's a little voluminous there, but if the camera can pick it up, you see those bubbles. It's very airy. You can maybe see the airiness a little easier in the bowl there. And so I definitely need to get in and load up some more soap. Let's do that. Now, since I may be having trouble picking up some soap right now, and the brush doesn't have quite as much water in it as it did when I first started loading, I'm going to put about half a teaspoon in the soap puck. And because of that, I'm going to go a little slower. So let's just do, I feel like 15 seconds is kind of appropriate. Maybe longer. I'd rather overshoot in this case. So there's 15. Let's pick up a little bit more. 20 seconds. And 25. And as you can see, there's not any water. I put half a teaspoon in there. It's all combined with soap or sucked up into the brush. So this is what happens when I put a teaspoon of water in here and there just wasn't enough soap in the brush to work with it, to make it into a cream, and so it got really airy. And so that's, as I stirred, I saw it was not becoming thick. And you definitely get a feel for it and get a look for it. And so I knew that there just wasn't enough soap on the brush. This one, it could be that it has sat unused for a few years. And if that's the case, sometimes the soap might develop a little shell on the top of stuff you kind of have to break through. Now this stuff is very high structure right here. Look at how it's very thin, but it's still supporting its own weight. Sometimes with those kind of lathers, sometimes they work okay, but sometimes they don't really bond with your skin very well. It looks very dry, so you can get past that sometimes just by mixing. and you mix out some of those air bubbles and it just turns more creamy. It's definitely the case of Williams mug soap. I'm going to go ahead and add water. Sometimes that high structure is waiting for more water. Because it then activates the soap and becomes more creamy. Not all the time, but sometimes. And that's something it's a real problem to learn sometimes, because maybe the soap is just waiting for some more water, or maybe you're on the way to thinning it out with too much water, and sometimes it's really hard to tell that point, when that point is. So this is soap is, standing up really tall and getting on my fingers, not very creamy at all. See, it's so light. You see how it's jiggling? That's because there's very little density to it. These little blobs are just popping off and keeping their shape. There's very little elasticity to this. Do I need to go back and pick up some more soap? Let's do a finger test and just see how it feels. Yeah, it's super light. I mean, there's some slickness there, but it feels too light. I think I need to go back and get more soap. Weird, huh? I mean, it would probably work right now, but it is airy, and I mean, it does have some slickness. As I rinse it away, I can feel it. I can feel that slickness on my fingers. So we are working with a stubborn little crope right here. Just washing, rinsing the handle off so I can keep a good grip of it. Handle of the brush here. All right, let's load up. So let's just do, let's just do another 30 seconds. So I started at 26, so we'll go to 56. Let's just, now that we know it's being a little stubborn, let's err on the side of really giving it tons of soap. Take a look at it, see how it's doing. So we'll go all the way to the 1 minute mark. And that'll be maybe a little over 30 seconds by a hair. There we go. Yeah, see, you can see all the bubbles, airiness, very thin. Yeah, very, and that just may be the way this soap works. I don't know. Captain's Choice is definitely not a soap that's super popular or just always regarded in the top tier, and so maybe this is why. Maybe this is an old tub that's an older formulation that they've moved away from. I don't know. I definitely feel like I've loaded enough soap by now. Probably over a minute of loading, I think. 30, yeah, about a minute and a quarter of loading. So that should definitely be enough soap. Sometimes when a soap is really airy and bubbly, I switch to a pressing down motion. And And sometimes that compression seems to calm down the airiness, compress it a little bit. This guy's staying really high and up on the walls. And okay, now at least I'm feeling a little bit of creamy slickness here. Wow. I am just, and I say wow not because I'm impressed, but because it is just taking a lot to get to that point with this soap. And the scent is not all that strong. I'm afraid we may lose on all counts in terms of ease of getting this soap together, getting this lather put together, and then also the scent strength. Looks like it's improving a little bit. It's not creamy by any means. I don't know if you can see it, but a couple of times I've kind of popped a bubble, and little tiny soap things, soap almost powder has just kind of popped up, and that just shows how dry it is. Yeah, there goes another one. How it's just not a creamy lather. Now maybe this is a soap that requires you to add water very slowly, because I added the 1 teaspoon pretty quickly. Now usually those soaps can still be tamed with time. And mixing, that can calm it down, but maybe this one needs a different approach. Alright, well, see, look, I pulled it out. Everything's rigid, nothing's moving, there's no elasticity to it. Kind of frustrating, to be honest with you. But that's the way it goes. So not all soaps are amazing. And also, maybe this one needs, like I said, a certain kind of technique to make it act its best. All right, so let's just put this on and see how it does on my face. If I need to add water, it sure doesn't. It looks so thin, I don't think I should add water. I mean, it's just so airy. Still, tiny bubbles and rigidity, all that stuff. Okay, water on my face. A little bit more than a 24-hour growth today, and today's water supply is nice and soft. All right, let's see how this brush behaves with a taller loft. I like it a lot better. It's working better and good. I am getting some of that sandalwood scent. The brush is not pushing my face around like it used to. That is awesome. I guess that extra length to the hair fibers by raising the knot up a little bit gave it, let them flex just a little bit more. So like now the tips aren't as soft. So now what it is the tips. When we're comparing the SHD, first of all, it's a comfortable, enjoyable brush. It's just that the tips aren't quite as soft. But here's the thing, those SHD tips, if they hook and give me a weird feel, I may prefer this better. So I guess it's one of those things where time will tell. And this lather looks like it's gonna dissipate on my face. I sure hope this was from an early formulation and they've improved their recipe. Little bit of sandalwood scent. All right, let's see what kind of slickness protection this kind of weak lather gives me. Sometimes you can be surprised. I'm getting a reasonable amount of glide. It's not doing a great job. Not quite enough glide, and this feels like I'm shaving with like 2 or 3 days of growth instead of just a few hours more than one. It's just weak. I mean, there is a little bit of, slickness. I can feel it. So it's not totally inadequate. All right, I'm going to rinse. Well, this is the least good soap I've used in a very, very long time. It does seem to be functional. It gives me enough slickness to shave. Now, let's just see what happens. We've obviously got some suds in the brush. I'm going to add water. Does it cream up or does it thin out? Just see what happens. If it creams up, then we know that I just didn't add enough water. If it thins out, we know that it's just a crappy soap. It's not creaming up really. Let's prove the point. Add a little bit more. Turning my face sideways because I don't want the water that I added to the brush to come out the bottom of the handle. I want it to stay near my skin. So it does seem to be increasing the amount of lather that I have on my brush. And so it doesn't seem to be, thinning out. However, the lather that I'm getting is just kind of still the same as what the new lather, the lather that's increasing, it's still the same kind of weak lather that I'm dealing with. So that's interesting and disappointing. Thought they were a better soap company. So that's 3 teaspoons we've got in it so far. Now the good news is, since that first pass is down the drain, the rest of them will be very nice. So this is my Nacet blade. This is the blade that back in August of last year I decided to use for austere August and try to see if I could use the same blade all month. It's my first time I ever took a blade past like 15 shaves. So I may have a lot more shaves on this blade than a lot of guys have on their longest blade, but this is definitely my only marathon blade. So I don't have marathon experience past this blade. I've got a feather that has about 35 uses on it, maybe a GSB that has about the same, and then the other ones are 15. The next one's up. Because since August, I've just mainly been focusing on this Nacet blade. And again, I'm going to say that the Nacet may not be the magic blade for you. It seems to be for me. But on the other hand, maybe the next blade, the Feather or the GSB that I'm using, maybe they'll go far as well. And so the Nacet may not be a unicorn. It may not be something unique. We'll just have to see. But unfortunately, it takes time to unfold before we know that. So that was the second pass, and it was comfortable, as we all kind of expected that it would be. And yeah, I've got tons of lather left. I'm about to lather up the third pass. Tons of disappointing lather. I kept loading more soap, hopefully to increase and develop some creaminess, but it never happened. It just gave me more of the airy soap that I didn't really care for. Now, if all you have is a puck of this stuff, and you like the scent and you don't mind the crappy lather, then go for it, enjoy it. But if this is what you have and you're concerned and you wish you had something higher performance, go out and buy a soap stick if you have a low budget. Get a Arco, or I think a Derby, but I haven't tried a Derby yet. Speak, S-P-E-I-K or S-P-I-E-C-K, I'm not exactly sure. Or Latoja, L-A space T-O-J-A. Those are all excellent sticks, very low price, and each of them will give you maybe 2-3 months of shaves. I think Arco gives you 3 months of shaves, so the others are probably similar. So they're very inexpensive. The lather's way better than this one. And so if you just want to experience a performance lather like that, then you can, that's an option for you. Now, if you get on eBay or Amazon and they want to charge you $5 for a stick of Arco, you're getting overcharged. Look around, try to find it for like $1.20 or $1.60 at the most. All right, let's shave off this weak lather. And as usual, we are on the 7 setting that I've been using lately. I think I see some redness on my face, and I'm not surprised because that first pass just, there wasn't the protection that I'm used to having. Now, I mean, this is an okay soap. I mean, well, it's less than okay, but I mean, it works. It will help you shave. But there are so many better options that if you think this is good, you need to, you might be well advised to seek a few other soaps. Try them out. I like to go to Maggard razors. I like to recommend Maggard razors to new users, if only to look at the soap selection they have. And if they have that soap, then that means it's good. And I'm serious about that. I don't have any relation to the company. I'm a customer now for a few years, and I really enjoy it. They do a lot for the shaving world. They participate in forums and conversations, and they help people out. And the assistance is just excellent with what they do and the services they provide. But they purposefully choose only really good soaps to put on their website in their soap section. And so if it's there, then it's good. Now, that doesn't mean it's not good if it's not there, because some vendors just choose to sell their soap themselves, that sort of thing. All right. Yeah, see, I got this redness right here. Fortunately, it doesn't feel irritated. Usually I do get a little right here, but this is just a bigger patch than I usually have, probably because of the soap. All right, the shave is done. Now, it left behind some creaminess, some slickness, if you will. Now, I don't know if I just haven't finished. I need to keep rinsing my face, but I don't know if it's got, skin food to help your skin out, and that's what's still on my face or not. I'm going to assume so. So I think now is a good time to put on this balm. This is a sandalwood balm that I really like the smell of. It's one of my early purchases when I only knew about Amazon. So funny when you read those Amazon reviews. And fortunately, what I did was I protected myself pretty well by only trusting products that had tons of good reviews. You know, because you'll find, I mean, just people will try a soap and then it'll work okay for them and they'll think it's the best. And so they'll post these raving reviews because they just haven't had any other experiences. So you can have several raving reviews about, you know, certain soaps, but they're just not as good and you really shouldn't buy them. But you don't know that. So what I do is I look at the negative reviews. And a lot of times that'll help. But I also just look for tons of good reviews. I mean, a crazy amount. And those are the buying choices I made. And by and large, that was a very good idea. It worked out really well for me. And then I discovered the forums and things like that were much, much better for a shaver in terms of getting advice, in terms of finding good products, and in terms of actually buying used gear. All right, so the shave is done. The balm I used was Lather and Wood, Sandalwood aftershave balm. Had it for a long time. It's still working good. It's got a nice scent on it, good authentic scent. And I can actually smell it. The scent of the soap was pretty low. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 out of 10. It was very lightly available during the shave, which is kind of a disappointment because if I was going to get a craggy lather like this, I would really want that awesome sandalwood scent to be dominant, but it just wasn't. So we're good. We're done. I hope there was something here for you. However, I'm going to keep going a little bit because I'm curious about this crappy lather. I'm going to keep adding water to it until it dies. Now, if you want to hang in for that, feel free. If you just want to fast forward to like a minute before the end, then I can, you'll see the results of that. You can also change the playback speed to just hover over the video, hit that gear icon, I think it's playback or speed or something, change it to maybe 1.5, and then you can still understand my words, but time will pass a little quicker. Because I've got what looks like a few passes of soap remaining. And so in theory, this, could be what makes for another shave. So let's, and this is something that I do advise you do. If you have a particular soap that you use a lot and you just want to learn more about it, take a day or maybe do a practice lather and work it really hard, push a lot of water into it and keep going with the water until it just dies. And then you can kind of learn what it looks like right before it dies. Because a lot of people, in my opinion, are probably working with under-hydrated lathers. So we've got 3 teaspoons here, so that's how much it took for this shave. I'm going to go ahead and refill this guy up to the top so we can kind of start over. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon in there. And we'll just see if that kills it. Or if by some miracle it turns creamy, and I just didn't take the water. I saw the thinness, maybe I saw the thinness and said, hey, I need to stop. When in reality, that thinness was the soap waiting for more water. Looks a little better. Pull it up here. Not bad. A little better. Let's see what happens. Put in another, we'll do a half teaspoon. Nah, let's do the whole teaspoon. We're going to watch it die. Let's watch it die. A lot of it is still staying high up in the bowl, getting up in my fingers. And to me, that high part that stays up around the side, that doesn't really get mixed very well. And so that's why I like to kind of poke it down. The scent is still super light, so I don't think we're going to recover that part. It's still holding together. It hasn't broken. Interesting. Let's reload. So we've got 2 teaspoons in it. Put another teaspoon in there. Well, it's not breaking down yet. That is crazy. It's increasing in volume, a little bit more elasticity. It's not creamy yet. That's it. Part of it is kind of slipping around itself. Do you see that part right there? Slipping down the brush on the outside of the other soap. I think that's what happens right before some soaps kind of just break apart. The shearing, if you will. See, it's still easily holding its own weight around the edges there. Not really getting creamy. Let's feel of it. Yeah, it's really light. Not very much slickness on my fingers. It might be serviceable to shave. I mean, because it does present a little bit, but I'd probably rather use my bar of Irish Spring to shave with instead of this. Still pretty thin with bubbles and airiness, very light. But hey, let's keep on going. 4 teaspoons in it. It's dying slowly. Let's put it that way. It's hanging in there a little bit. My mixing muscles are getting a workout today. It's also a little harder because I'm holding it up for the camera instead of holding it down where, you know, I'm kind of holding my arm up and stuff. So it's a little more taxing than your average shaver. So it's big, a little more elastic, but it's just super light. There's nothing to it. It's so that in a sense it's remarkable because it's still holding together at this point. 4 teaspoons of water added to it, but it's just too thin. There's not enough substance to it to make it an enjoyable, shaveable lather. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the experiment now. I mean, I could probably keep adding water to it, but it's not getting any thicker, not getting any creamier. The bubbles aren't dissipating, that sort of thing. So I'm going to call it. Looks nice, not great to shave with. Just too light. Those little light micro bubbles just never went away, and they kept it too light. I didn't really feel like it hydrated my skin too well. So, but I got a reasonable shave. A little painful on the front side, the first pass. A little more tuggy than usual. So I don't think the soap was doing as good of a job at its job. So it's disappointing because that was a good sandalwood scent, but an authentic one that I prefer. So many makers will take sandalwoods and they'll add other stuff to them. I guess because that's what they think people like, and maybe people do like it. Like Taylor of Old Bond Street, one of the first premium creams or soaps even I ever bought from Amazon. Great reviews, but to me it smelled like truck stop hand soap mixed with your grandma's flowery perfume. And I couldn't find any sandalwood in there at all. But tons of people love it. A lot of people hate it, but tons of people love it. Fortunately, I was able to return mine. But yeah, this soap, I think it's one I'm going to pass on to somebody else who might like this formulation. Maybe they like a really light soap. I don't know. There we go. So that's the shave. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Bye.